Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief life update, where I'm at, and I guess just things that have been going on health-wise. There are other videos that are going to upload that talk about things that are going on currently that could affect those of us that are chronically ill. And again, I don't know if those videos will go up before or after this one, but I do have some videos planned that talk about current events. So it might seem a little bit delayed once they're up. So they might be up after the fact. But I might touch on that here. So if I talk about something here that hasn't uploaded yet, it will upload eventually. So I did tell you guys, or you guys know if you've been following this channel, and a lot of people, I had a pretty big response to the Ureaplasma videos. I think I did, that was my original one that I did several months ago. And then I did, I think, a follow-up 1 year post Ureaplasma. And then somebody had asked me about treatments or like probiotics and stuff. And so I did another one. All of those videos should be up. So it's like three videos so far talking about Ureaplasma. And I mentioned Ureaplasma here and there with, different videos, just because it's become such a big thing, and it has sort of, it's changed my health, unfortunately, for the worse. I'm not the same since I did the Ureaplasma treatment, which was a fluoroquinolone antibiotic, and I did do a video on fluoroquinolone antibiotics, fluoroquinolone toxicity. I want to say that I'm lucky that I didn't have worse side effects. To be honest, knock on wood, but there are people that will be okay for a while, and then, something will happen and they end up having the fluoroquinolone toxicity long after they've taken the fluoroquinolone. I don't know if that's common. Usually people have, the negative effects pretty soon after taking it, but I'm still being very cautious. I'm still taking whatever supplements I can take. Unfortunately, I had to eliminate a lot of supplements because my body just stopped tolerating them after that Ureaplasma treatment. Had to eliminate more foods. I had to stop eating beef. And it's just been a roller coaster. I mean, things were already bad like a year before that. I was having a lot of GI issues, recurrent infections, bloating. And that just really was, I don't want to say the icing on the cake. It just tipped the scales, and my GI just couldn't take it. And so I'm dealing with more food intolerance. I noticed that, even though I couldn't, I would cheat on the weekends and have some sugar on the weekends. My body just doesn't seem to be tolerating sugar that well anymore. So it's like my cheat days are, fewer and fewer unless I just want to feel sick. But as far as beef is concerned, I haven't eaten beef probably in about a year, or somewhat close to a year. And that was kind of one of my favorite things to eat. I like beef more than I like chicken, and because of the iron, and just, I don't know, I just feel like there's more that you can do with beef than you can do with chicken. I do miss it, but unfortunately my stomach is just no longer tolerating it well. So I have not had a Ureaplasma recurrence. I have been tested, I did, even though I do not feel well, I am not back to how I was before the Ureaplasma. I feel different, and it's just, I'm just different. But I don't have Ureaplasma. And I don't think I was getting any kinds of infections, in that area, but for about 7 to 8 months after the Ureaplasma treatment. So I was treated for Ureaplasma last year around January, because I know that it was like New Year's when I was doing the antibiotics protocol. So it was like January of last year, and I think I was good up until maybe late summer. And then I started noticing, things were a little weird again, and some of that same little, burning sensation. I mean, I was having, things were not feeling great down there to begin with, but I could distinguish, like, oh, I think I have an infection now. And so my concern was that the ureaplasma was back. It was not. And I've been tested and retested and retested for it. I think I've been retested 3 or 4 times for it at this point. And there's no ureaplasma, but there is BV. And whatever BV I have is becoming very resistant. It's becoming just like the ureaplasma, where I can't get rid of it and I don't know what to do. So that's where I'm at right now, just dealing with these very resistant infections. I don't know if they're becoming resistant to the antibiotics or if it's just, biofilm. There's always talk of biofilm, and that protects the bacteria. So I'm currently brainstorming what to do in order to see if we can calm these infections. I've also had a lot of inflammation in my gums, and I have a feeling that those two things are related. I know that they don't seem related at all, but the onset of both was around the same time, and they seem to, if they get better, they seem to get better together. If they get worse, they seem to get worse at the same time. So I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I've noticed the link between the two. By the way, I am using a new microphone. I've been testing it out. I have noticed that there's some weird feedback on it. So you guys just let me know how the sound is in the comments. But I have noticed that there might be some little weird feedback. So I'm continuing to use it just to see if I keep using it, I'll figure out what that, noise is coming from. I have gained back some of my weight because I was down close to like 89 pounds. I think I've gained back maybe 2 to 3 pounds. I'm still very underweight, and I'm still trying to be very careful to not get more, any infections, at least sinus infections, because then I have to take oral antibiotics, and that's when I start losing weight, because I have a lot of GI issues afterwards, lots of bloating, and that's it. I lose my appetite. I just feel really uncomfortable, and then I have to, then I lose weight, and that's not good. Speaking of GI symptoms, I do have an upcoming appointment at the GI Motility Clinic at Cedars-Sinai, which is out here in Los Angeles. That is coming at the end of March. I'm filming this today on Valentine's Day. So I have about a month and a half before I go to the GI clinic. I'm not too confident that they're going to know, or that they're going to be able to offer me anything as far as treatment, but I am interested in some of the tests that they have, because they sort of have this very state-of-the-art testing. They have this thing, I think it's called like a smart pill, where it's like an electronic pill that you swallow, and it tests your motility as it goes through your GI. So I'm hoping that I get to do that test. I imagine I'll probably have to do SIBO testing as well. I'm not looking forward to that, but in all honesty, I just want to get it done and over with so that doctors stop bugging me about it, so that we can just, put that to rest. So I have a feeling that those are the two things that they may, that might be mandatory before they make any kind of, or come to any kind of conclusions as far as where my GI issues are coming from. So that appointment is at the end of March. I'm still undergoing my tattoo removal, so it's coming along really great. I thought that I was having some flare-ups from it. I do think that I did at the very beginning. I really feel that it was provoking something, but the last few appointments, I have so many issues, that I can't really tell if it's related to the tattoo removal. And then of course still getting infections. So it's like, it could be the antibiotics from the infections I'm having, or it could be the tattoo removal. So it's very difficult to really distinguish what is what, but I'm continuing with the tattoo removal. I'm getting lymphatic drainage between appointments, just to get things out of my system, because they say that the ink goes to your lymph nodes. I don't know. I'm just taking extra precautions, I guess. But things seem to be going well. And the nurse that I have, I think she's very receptive to, to my body, because she'll always ask me, like, how did things go after the last tattoo session? And for example, this last time I told her that, it scabbed quite a bit. And so I think she went easier with the laser this at my last appointment. This was appointment number 5. So I do think that they gauge the strength based on whether like how you responded before. They don't want to overdo it. So they're not going to do like super strong removal every single time. Sometimes they'll ramp it up slowly. That's kind of how it went, from my first appointment to my 4th. And then I think once they see enough progress, then, I think they sort of adjust it to how you're doing and how you responded. And I think a lot of that too is to avoid scarring on the skin and to avoid any kind of long-term damage to the skin. So that's going fine. I can't say for sure that I'm noticing major issues. There might have been a little bit, a few flare-ups in the beginning, but at this point, I can't really distinguish whether it's doing anything too negative, health-wise. I have this other thing going on as well, and I don't want to talk about it too much. It's almost like I don't want to jinx it in a way, but I have been trying to get in to see a specific infectious disease doctor out here in Southern California. And I literally have been going through this process for probably, I want to say almost a year. And I knew about him when I had, first moved into this apartment, and I had wanted to get in to see him, but I did not have the right diagnosis. I did not have the correct referral, and I just kept getting blocked at I was getting blocked at every pass. I have finally been able to get a referral, the correct referral, and I still had to kind of put up a little bit of a fight because I don't know, it's just impossible to get in to see this doctor. And so now I got an appointment, but he's scheduling out until the summer of 2027. So it's a couple of years before I would even get to see this doctor. Once they send me, there's some initial blood work and other paperwork that I have to do. Once I complete that, I will be placed on a waiting list. And so my appointment can be, in 3 months, or it can be in 3 years. So once you're placed on that waiting list, then it's kind of like a waiting game. You just have to see if you can get in earlier. But it can take quite some time to get in to see this doctor. And again, there's no guarantee that he'll know what's going on. I've looked at his research and his case studies, and I was very intrigued by it because I'm very similar to a lot of these patients. So I really wanted to get in to see him just to get his take on, whether he thinks that I could be having, an issue that he's familiar with. But again, I don't want to talk too much on that because, I don't want to give false hope to anybody. I don't want to give false hope to myself either. This is just me continuing to fight and continuing to advocate for myself and trying to get answers as to why I am so sick. And again, anything can happen in 2 years, 2.5 years. There's no telling whether I'll even be around in a couple years, or, like I said, a lot can happen within that time. And, I try to just tell myself, just take it one day at a time. Don't get your hopes up too much, but also try not to think so negatively either, because that, that can lead you down another rabbit hole. And, it makes you stop living your life when you get stuck in that place. And speaking of that, I have been trying to find community outside of chronic illness. What I mean by that is that I'm trying to find, a group of like-minded, women, people that I can relate to in another way besides, chronic illness, because chronic illness has consumed so much of my life that, and I've gone to support groups, chronic illness support groups. I've done all of that. And it's hard for me because I feel like I can't relate to those people either. Sometimes there's just a lot of nonsense. I've talked about this in one of my other videos. There's always conspiracy theories and all kinds of weird conversation that happens at these chronic illness support groups. And I just, I can't live in that space of, not living in reality. And so I found a support group for child-free women, and that has been really helpful just for me to connect with other women outside of a chronic illness type of setting. And, with something else, right? With another thing that we have in common, which is not having children. And so that has been helpful, and it does make me feel like I have a life outside of chronic illness. And so I actually would very much recommend to any of you out there that do have a chronic illness to find, a group that has something to do with maybe an interest that you have that is outside of chronic illness. Because too often I have seen chronically ill people just, immerse themselves in their illness, and they go to these support groups. They only make friends that are, in these chronic illness support groups or that have the same diagnosis that they have. And it's just like, it can become toxic. It can become toxic, but it's also like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not healthy to identify with your illness so much. And for me, I have just never found it helpful. I think I went twice to one support group, and they would always bring up conspiracy theories and just weird stuff. And I was like, I just don't want to participate in this. This is not for me. So that has been helpful. That's just where I'm at right now. And, I'm trying to stay hopeful, but also trying to stay realistic and trying to stay centered, because nothing is guaranteed. And, I just don't know. I don't know what's going to come of all of these doctor's appointments. I wasn't looking forward to the Cedars one, but I also am telling myself to have an open mind and to go there and just be open to whatever they have to offer, and to try to have some enthusiasm, because at this point, I'm just, after so many years of being sick, you kind of go, they're not going to be able to help me. They're not going to be able to do anything for me. And I have to remind myself, like, don't go in there with that negative attitude. Cedars-Sinai, their GI motility clinic is well known here in Los Angeles. And I actually, the doctor that referred me there actually discouraged me, because I had been referred to UC Irvine for the SIBO testing. And the doctor that referred me to Cedars, he said, don't go to UC Irvine. He said, don't go there. He says, go to Cedars. So the fact that, he was highly recommending this place and was basically saying, like, no, this is the place to go. And it's also local. It's not, it's not like in a different state. That kind of made me feel, pretty good. So I just am trying to be hopeful and at least be positive about these upcoming appointments, and just, take every day as it comes. So that's the update for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.